there's certain things we share that we normally would share with everybody individually, but I don't want you all to hear the same thing over and over. I figure we'll just share it with you all together at the same time. And all of you had your evaluations yesterday. We did some x-rays, we did some tests, some weird stuff we had to make you do to figure out if the nervous system's working properly and all of that. So I have a quick question for you. The question I have for you is, if there was a nail in your tire and you were going to drive from here to New York City, when would you like to know there's a nail in your tire? Before you get on the road, exactly. And what if your bank was accidentally overcharging you with these hidden fees every single month, but you didn't know about it? When would you like to find out there are fees being charged? Before the first one, right? Right away. And what if there was a process, a disease process in the body that was progressive and it didn't cause any pain, it didn't cause you any symptoms, it didn't cause you any problems, so you didn't know about it? But it would eventually become a serious debilitating issue in the future and affect not only your performance and abilities, but affect your health. When would you like to find out it's there? Early, exactly. Well, one of the things we were looking for is exactly that. And so what I want to also tell you about is when you look at the human body, design of the human body, you're going to get a good idea of what our Creator was thinking when He built us. Because He wanted to protect the most important part of your body with bone. What's the most protected part of the body? What's the next most protected part of your body? By the way, is the brain important? If I chop off my head, remove my brain, am I going to live or die? Is that a theory or a fact? Absolute fact, right? Now, the next most protected part of the body surrounded by bone is your spinal cord, right? And that's surrounded by the spinal column. So nerves branch out of the spinal cord, go to all the organs in your body. Every cell, tissue, and organ in your body has a nerve that goes to it that's connecting it to the brain. So what happens, let's say if I fall off a horse, break my neck, and sever my spinal cord? Am I going to get paralyzed? Yeah. Am I going to get paralyzed just right there or from there down? From there down. That's a fact, right? And now what if I fall off that horse, I don't break my neck, I don't sever my spinal cord, but something gets misaligned in my neck and it starts putting pressure on the spinal cord? Is that going to be just a neck issue or is that going to affect me from there down? 100%, and that's a fact as well. And so, quick question for you guys, because we're all, not me, you guys are elite athletes at the highest level of basketball. What is some of the things that are important to your performance? Is strength important? Yeah. Flexibility? Yeah. How about speed? Yeah. All right, what else? Give me some more. We got strength, flexibility, speed, what? IQ, absolutely. Hydration, very good. Vertical, I guess. Yeah, vertical for sure. Now, what determines your vertical? Is strength and speed help, right? Yeah. But there's one other factor. It's called coordination, right? Coordination. Michael Jordan was very coordinated. You can see him in slow motion flying through the air. He's contorting his body. He just knows which way's up, which way's down. Gymnasts are like that. They're tumbling through the air. They still know which way's up or down. You throw me in the air, I won't know where up and down is. Right? They're coordinated. They understand their body really, really well. Coordination is based on your nervous system. So nerves bring information. See, none of you have to look down at your knees to tell me if your knees are bent or straight. Why? Because you put it there. No, because your brain is talking to your knees all the time. Now, if I stop that signal that tells your brain that your knee is bent, instantly your leg will become numb and start to tingle. That's when that communication is interfered with. Everybody have their leg fall asleep? So that's called disafferentation. It's abnormal input to the brain. So what we want to do is make sure all information from every limb, every joint, every muscle in your body is communicating with the brain at the highest level. So they did studies on like baseball players, and they found that the reaction time of players who had a chiropractic adjustment was cut in half. That means they could see a fastball much better and react to it twice as fast as someone who had a misalignment in their spine. And so we know that correcting pelvic motion adds 5 to 10 yards to a golfer's drive. So performance is key. What chiropractic does, help you remove any interference from the nervous system so coordination goes through the roof. That's why we do the x-rays. That's why we do the scans. See, you can x-ray a dead person, and on film, you don't know if they're alive or dead. You just see bones. But now we do the scan. You all had the scan. That tells me if the nerves are firing around your spine properly as well. So we're looking at not just function of the nervous system, but the alignment, because they go hand in hand. If there's something misaligned in the spine, it affects the nervous system, the spinal cord, and it's going to affect performance, coordination, all that stuff. Now, we all have things that we've adapted to. We learn to live with those. And sometimes we don't even know that there's something wrong because it's always been like that, so we just think that's normal. But the minute you remove that interference, all of a sudden the light goes on. All of a sudden you go, man, this is how it's supposed to be. That's pretty good. So our goal for you guys is to have that kind of an experience when we do that adjustment. It's called a subluxation, which is any interference that affects the nervous system is called a subluxation. But your spine needs to have curves to it. From the front, it needs to be perfectly straight. From the side, it needs to have these curves to it. Curves create stability. So if I hold my finger straight and hit it, there's no absorption of shock. But if you put a curve in there, now it can absorb shock. See, a lot of people think the discs absorb shock, but the discs are not designed to absorb shock. They're designed to allow for motion. So you can bend, move, twist, and turn, but the curves are what absorb shock. If the curves are not there, every impact, when you jump and land, that force goes into the discs, and the discs will start to narrow. One of the things we're going to look for, as I show you your x-rays, and this is why I'm going through this, is I'm going to show you your x-rays, and by the time we show the x-rays, you're going to tell me what the problem is, right? If one of the discs is more narrowed than the others, we know there's stress on that disc. What I'm going to do, Dr. Michael and I, we're going to take that stress and divide it between all the bones and all the discs, so one disc doesn't wear out faster than the others. That makes sense? So this is what it looks like. This is a normal neck. See, it's got a nice curve to it. See 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. There's 7 bones in the neck. That first bone needs to be angled at 14 degrees. Anything less than 14 degrees is going to put pressure on the brainstem. Put pressure on the brainstem. That's the fuse box that relays all the information. It's like a switchboard. It sends all the information to different organs in your body. That can't be pressed on. If it is pressed on, not only can it cause headaches, migraines, dizziness, and lightheadedness, it can cause ADD, ADHD, sleep apnea, insomnia, depression, anxiety, and mood swings. So that angle has to be at 14 degrees. Between 14 and 28 is okay. Higher than 28, we need to adjust that too. So make sure we're looking for that. The other thing is the space between the bones. It's called a disc. It's blue on these pictures. It's black on these pictures. This is normal. Can you guys see how this doesn't have the normal curve like this one? People who've been in whiplash accidents lose the curve. Sometimes they lose it during birth trauma as the head's being pulled, and they never have a curve their whole life. Anytime you reduce that curve, you reduce blood flow to the brain as well. And so one of the biggest factors, according to neuroscientists and neurophysiologists, on longevity is cervical curve in the neck. So we're going to be looking at those. When I show you your x-rays, you're going to tell me if that curve is normal or not normal. If it's not normal, we got to fix it. Next thing is this one. See, if that curve stays abnormal, I told you the discs start to wear out. Can you all see how the disc between these two bones is narrower than the ones above and below? Disc is narrow, that means there's pressure on the nerve at that point. Now C5 is the nerve that goes to your shoulders. How important are your shoulders when you're playing? And communication between the shoulder and the brain. Leave that alone. Is it going to get better or worse? It's going to get worse, right? So then bone spurs show up. You see these sharp pointy things in the corners? Those bone spurs eventually grow together and they fuse. And that's the person, if you tap him on the shoulder, he's got to turn like this to look at you. His head's not moving. And so we need to make sure it never gets that far. So any misalignment we find, we got to fix it right away, maintain mobility. Bone spurs and disc damage happen in areas of immobility. Mobility is key. Everything needs to be mobile. And so that's why we're doing this. And what you need to know is that the weight of a dime is enough to cut nerve signal by 60%. So how would you like 60% of the signal that goes from your brain to your heart to be cut? 60% of the signal that goes from the brain to the stomach or the intestines to be cut. We can't have that. We need 100%. And same thing with information that's coming from your arms and legs to your brain. And so this is what your brain does. It's like the conductor. It's telling all your organs how to function, what to do, when to do it, and how to cooperate with everything else. In fact, the definition of health is function, not how you feel. See, everybody thinks if I look good, I feel good, I'm healthy. That's not the case. People who have cancer still look good and feel good. People who are about to have a heart attack, they still look good and feel good. So that's not what it's about. We got to assess and find out if it's actually functioning properly, and that's what we're doing with you guys. These are examples of scans. This was a patient whose scans improved after a month and after another month. So anytime you see red on your scan, that's an area of nerve interference. This is a patient who had headaches for many years, worked on his neck and her neck, sorry, and you notice that curve improved. The angle went from 12 to 14 degrees. Migraine headaches disappeared. Now, she had fallen down the stairs. She hit the back of her head on every step all the way down and started having headaches. For 10 years, she was having migraine headaches. Disappeared without drugs, without surgery. And this is someone, low back issue. This person's having disc damage, plus there's an aneurysm in the front of the spine. It's one of the reasons we take x-rays. We need to know what's going on in there. Worked on his spine for 3 months. You notice the discs are wider. The aneurysm is still there, but his pain went away. He had numbness in one leg, completely numb. He had to drag one leg behind him when he would walk. He had to be on a walker. And complete restored function to that leg. This is a 12-year-old with misalignment right there in that bone. And all he had was diarrhea, and he was losing weight. So 12, 13-year-old shouldn't be losing weight. He's losing weight. He's not absorbing food properly. Lots of diarrhea. He'd had diarrhea for a long, basically since birth. He just never had normal bowel movements. We worked on his spine for just 4 weeks, and spine's completely balanced, and his intestinal issues completely went away. So we're going to go and do your first adjustment today. First, I'm going to show you guys your own individual x-rays, and then we're going to do your first adjustment. This being your first adjustment with us, you need to know we're not going to surprise you with anything. We're going to explain what we're doing before we do it, and until you say go ahead and do it, we're not going to do it. So no surprises, right? You're in charge. You're in control. You call the shots. That's number one. Secondly, you may be wondering, is this going to be painful? The answer is no. It's gentle. It's comfortable. Most people enjoy getting adjusted. I'm expecting you will too. Number three, when we do the adjustment, and I know some of you have had chiropractic care before, we do the adjustment, there's possibility you hear some popping sounds. It doesn't matter if you hear a pop or not. What's important is we make the change. You'll feel that change when you first stand back up. Sound all right? Good. You're probably also wondering, what should I expect after the adjustment? Well, not a whole lot, not with just one, unfortunately not with the shape that we see some spines in right now. You should feel different. You should feel like you can move, turn, twist better. But to make permanent changes, you'll need subsequent adjustments. And for the next 2 to 3 days, there's a possibility you'll be mildly sore. It won't be a lot, it'll be mild. If you're sore, it'll feel muscular sore. It's not going to affect performance. It's not going to keep you from being able to do everything you want to do. You'll be able to do all that stuff. But we're going to give you some icing instructions. You're going to make sure you ice after your adjustment a couple of times the rest of today, and that'll minimize that soreness. Everybody commit to icing? Very cool. All right. So I'm going to go back. Yes, sir.
So there's no excuses for not practicing.
No excuse for not practicing, 100%.
I just wanted to make sure they use that.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. In fact, the soreness will go away 5 minutes into practice. As soon as you loosen up, start moving around.
You're already thinking that.
All right, guys. Aspen's going to help. Aspen and Gloria will help you guys get back, and we'll see you back there in the rooms.